Jacksonville Jaguars at Tampa Bay Bucks. Bucks favored by 1 here. Massive high leverage game for both teams. Both teams are tied atop their respective South division. Bucks 7-7 in the NFC South. Jags 8-6 in the AFC South. I said NFC for Bucks, right? Bucks coming off of that thrashing of the Packers. Great offensive performance by Baker Mayfield in that passing attack. And now we have the Jags coming off their Sunday night loss. Trevor Lawrence still in concussion protocol. They're signing practice squad quarterbacks and the whole deal, so that it seems like they're preparing to not have Trevor Lawrence here. I believe it's about a 22% chance that quarterbacks or that players pass concussion protocol within 7 days, which is one of the other Brock Purdy just being superhuman. He's like he's the only quarterback to pass concussion protocol within a week. Did it in like 3 days. Maybe he is AI, like Kyle Brandt said. It might be a CJ Beathard game here for the Jags. Inopportune time to maybe lose your starting QB here. Trevor Lawrence dealing with 4 or 5 different injuries as well.
Yeah, not great at all. Pretty high leverage game as well across the board. I mean, Jacksonville's still in a reasonable position, but if they lose, they drop down to 50-50 to make the playoffs, let alone the number 1 seed where they were a couple of weeks ago. If they win, they're all but in. They're 90%. The Bucks, same kind of idea. If they win, they get up to 85%-ish. And if they lose, they're down to 60. Baker Mayfield trying to sucker everybody back in, out there with his perfect passer rating and his carving up of Joe Barry's defense and his high leverage plays. And you're like, hey, I'm back, baby. Not buying it yet.
You're still not buying it yet.
I'm not doing it. I've refused. I've been suckered in by Baker Mayfield too much. I'm not doing it again. It was nice. It's been nice. I'm still not buying it.
So there's a few different things at play there, right? Dave Canales comes in, and I think he's done a nice job all year working with that offense, even though they're still only averaging 20, 21 points per game. It's not like they're tearing it up offensively, but just creating more open throws. Remember last year, Byron Leftwich calling plays. There wasn't a whole lot of easy in that Bucs offense. We've seen, at least over the last few weeks too, whether it's the screen calls to Rachaad White at the right time. There's multiple 30-yard touchdowns to Rachaad White on screens this year. Mm-hmm. There's Rachaad White last week up the seam on a really nice touchdown. So I think Canales is doing a great job. Chris Godwin has come alive these last couple weeks, ironically, as he's been banged up and on the injury report. And Mike Evans is still Mike Evans, capable in any given week of just, being just a monster down the field, gets open, and he creates big play opportunities. But Mayfield, again, is still 27th in the league on 10-plus yard throws, completion percentage-wise. He was 10 of 11 last week against Green Bay. Can he keep that up? They've had opportunities to make plays this year, and Mayfield's been inconsistent. But overall, they're playing better these last few weeks, and it looked like the season might have been over for the Bucs, and here they are in control of the division and in control of their own destiny. And I'll say this, it's a break for them if they face Beathard instead of Trevor Lawrence, because they have this game, they have the head-to-head against the Saints next week, and then they have the Panthers to finish the season. The Bucs have a path to winning the division here.
One interesting dynamic about this Bucs offense is earlier in the season, Baker Mayfield was like the best quarterback in the NFL on third down. Like Dave Canales was dialing up just incredible plays on third down. Baker was hitting what was there, first read almost all the time, and the numbers were insane. That's cooled off as the year has gone on. Like his production hasn't been as insane on third down, and yet I think he's probably improved in other areas to counteract that a bit, So maybe he's not like I was sort of expecting that when that disappears, when that goes away, Baker's going to drop way off. But actually, he's been able to raise his game to kind of make it a wash, and he's still playing pretty well. So look, I think that, the Baker Mayfield, this Bucs offense, it's solid. It's not bad. Like the weapons they have are significant. Rachaad White out of the backfield is a real weapon for them, and Baker Mayfield is generally making pretty good decisions. But it'll be a very different game against this Jags defense than what we saw against Green Bay, which was just miserable.
On the other side, I want to steal a data point from Robert Mays here of The Athletic. Jags offense. So I don't know. Everybody's got different EPA numbers, but I'll just take whatever Robert Mays said here. They're 31st in EPA per play. EPA lost. Total EPA actually lost on drops. 30th in EPA lost on fumbles. 31st in EPA lost on wide receiver or tight end screens. And 30th in EPA gained on running plays. So, look, it's not like a Trevor Lawrence, a apology tour or anything like that. But we mentioned earlier in the year, they were dropping passes at the wrong times, and the Chiefs have caught up in a lot of these areas, high leverage drops. But the Jags aren't getting help with regard to drops, putting the ball on the turf. They're not getting free yards from screens, and the running game isn't very effective. If Trevor Lawrence was playing, that's a concern, because it does feel like there's more pressure on him, right? He's got to make, higher leverage, tighter window throws, and make sure he doesn't miss because he's not getting the free yards. If C.J. Beathard is running the show here, it's all the more difficult, I think, for the Jags, because they're just not good all around. And I think that's one of the disappointments for a team that was supposed to continue to progress here under Doug Peterson.
Yeah, I mean, the general dynamic for that Jags offense this season has been Trevor Lawrence putting the ball more or less where it needs to go and often being let down by his receivers or his skill position players. If you then take away the one thing that was functioning, like now it's, instead of Trevor Lawrence putting the ball more or less where it should be, it's C.J. Beathard out there probably not doing that most of the time. I mean, now you've got all the weaknesses of the offense paired together with a new weakness that doesn't bode well, generally, you would think. So yeah, I think I think it's probably terminal if they don't have Trevor Lawrence out there, to be honest.
So the Bucs are favored by 1 at home. Where are you going?
Bucs.
Yeah, I'll also take the Bucs. And Matt, I'm assuming the leverage is high. It'll be higher leverage when it's Bucs Saints the next week. But if the Bucs win this game, they could clinch the division, I believe, next week by beating the Saints. So there's a lot on the line here for both teams. Jags, again, they're 8-6, tied atop the AFC South. They can't afford to lose any game either. So it's a big one in the 4:05 window, Christmas Eve.